less than 12, and it has to do with finding the percent of a number. So I'm going to show you a few strategies, and you don't need to use every one, but at some point you're going to figure out which one you like best and which one works for you. So let's start off with this. If I ask you 75% of 40 is what number, I'm really asking you to find 75% of 40. So here's my question. 75% of 40. And then I could put the what is. But if you just can't picture a question like that, I want you to think about this with some context. So let's say, oops, not that one. I wanted to grab this one. Let's say there's a kid who's playing a video game, right? So if he needs 40 points to complete level 5 and he's completed 75% of the level, how many points does he have, right? So his strategy is to get to the next level, and he's 75% of the way there. So that gives us a little bit of a story to work with. I'm going to put that off to the side. So now I'm telling you, you've got different strategies, right? And so if the level that he needs to get to is 40 points, then I put 40 up here at 100%, right? So that means when he reaches that level, he will be at 100% of his goal. And then we want to start looking at, well, how can I fill out the rest of the number line? And what I want to know is, where is this, right? What number over here in the points column matches with 75%? I'm going to write in a little 75%. You know that 75 is the number right in between 70 and 80. So I start to do some things. Well, I like to cut things in half because it's easy to divide by 2. So half of 100 is 50 and half of 40 is 20. So if he gets 50% of the way there, he would have 20 points. And then I also might do this because I'm trying to get to 75. I could cut the 50 in half, and half of 20 is 10. So now I can also use that thing where I'm looking at the number line and I notice that 25% is 10 and 50% is 20. And if I add those 2% together, it equals 75. But now you can also see, if I put a 0 down here, that each 1/4 is skip counting by tens, right? So it goes 10, 20, 30, 40. So I know the answer is 30 points, right? So 75% of 40 equals 30. That's one method. It's kind of visual, right? A double number line or a little bit of a tape diagram. Now, the next method I could use is to turn the percent into a fraction and multiply. You guys know that of means times in math. So if I look at this this sentence right here that says, what is 75% of 40? 75%, you know, is just a fraction over 100. And then the 40 I can put over 1. So now I'm just going to multiply across. And I do, I might want to simplify before I multiply. I'm going to use a different color. I notice the 100 and the 40 both have a 0. So if I divide by 10, I'm getting rid of a denominator and a numerator. So I'm dividing by 10 in the bottom and the top. And then I could multiply across. I could still do some more simplifying, but that's enough for now. 75 times 4. So now I have 75 times 4 over 10 times 1. And when I do 75 times 4, I get 300. Oops, that looks like a divide by. I get 300 over 10. And I already know the answer is 30 because we did it with the double number line. That's turning a fraction in turning the percent into a fraction and multiplying. Now, maybe you like decimals and you'd rather do the problem with the decimal. So remember what we do. We take the 75%, we get rid of the percent sign. Oh, it's like taking this first number and simplifying it right now, dividing, right? This fraction bar means to divide. If you divide 75 by 100, the decimal moves over 2 places. There's my naked number. I'm going to put a 0 in front of it. 0.75 times 40. I type that into the calculator and I get 30. Okay, cool. Let's look at another problem. This time I'm going to add another strategy that we have as a ratio table. And here's the story, right? So we can use this story over here. Joe was super stoked to find that the $150 pair of pants he wanted were marked as 60% off. So I want to figure out what he's going to save, right? If he buys these pants, I want to know what is, and here's my question, what is 60%? And I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to move this to finish writing that 60% of 150. So I've got my double number line. I'm going to go ahead and start with that. I know if I pay full price, it's up here at 150. And then I could start breaking things in half. I typically do that. Half of 100 is 50. Half of 150 is 75. But now I notice maybe that's not going to be super helpful. Maybe I should start, trying to figure out if I need to get the number here that's 60%. And this is skip counting by tens. So I could do some quick mental math and figure out if I divide 150 by 10, what will I be skip counting by, right? Remember, when you divide by 10, the decimal moves over one place. So to skip count from 0 to 150, I would skip count by 15s. 15, 30, 45, right? And you have a multiplication chart that can help you. 90, let's see, 105, 120, 135, and I get to 150. So now I can see the savings would be $90, right? So it's a $90 savings. Okay, now I want to show you how to use a ratio table because we haven't really done this with percents, but we've done it with other ratios. This time I want you to label part and whole. Remember I mentioned those words for a percent? The part is the part that I either pay, or it could be the part that you got right on a test. And the whole is the total price, the total points on a test. And so when I write a 60% in this column, the 60% is really 60 over 100, right? So whenever I write a percent in my ratio table, I write the 60 and it's always over 100. Now I'm going to add the words is and of. If I spend $100, the part that I pay is 60 as a percent, right? This is 60 out of 100. Now, the of 150, that's the total price that's not on sale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 150 down here in the whole. If I have to pay the whole price, I'm paying $150. So now, I talked about this before. A strategy for figuring out what number goes here, right? This is my final. I already know the answer is 90. I want to know how much I would save if I was saving 60% of 150. So what I want to do is, this is my missing number. So I make the patterns of multiplication and division in the row that has all the information. I have two numbers here, but I only have one number there. So what one strategy is to find a common multiple. And there's many that are common with 100 and 150. So I look at the two numbers. On my notes, I put a 10 in here. This is the common, did I say common multiple? Sorry, common factor. The common factor of 100 and 150, there's a bunch, but I'm going to stick with 10 because it's an easy number. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what the pattern is when I go from 100 to 10. It gets smaller. It's division. It's dividing by 10. And then when I go from 10 to 150, it's multiplying by 15. So when I figure out the pattern on the bottom, sorry about that, multiply by 15. When I figure out the pattern on the bottom, I use that because I need to complete the same pattern on the top. I'm going to divide by 10. Oh, it's easy to divide by 10. The decimal moves over one place and I get 6. The next pattern is times 15, and I do 6 times 15 and it equals 90, and we already knew it was 90, but I just showed you a different way. Now I'm going to use the ratio table and show you one way. If you can't think of a common factor, I'm going to show you another way that works every single time. I'm going to go ahead and put the part, and I'm going to put the whole, and I'm going to start with the information that I knew 60% is 60 over 100, and then 150 is the whole. This is how much I'm going to pay if I don't have a sale. Okay, so now what works every single time is choose, oh boy, sorry about my writing, choose a 1. Guess what? It's so easy to use a 1 as my pattern because anytime you take a number and divide by itself, it equals 1. So this pattern is dividing by 100, and now the multiplication is super easy. I'm multiplying times 150. So I'm going to do the same pattern up here. I'm going to divide by 100. When you divide by 100, the decimal moves over 2 places. Notice the numbers look kind of similar to the table above, but they are different. And now I'm going to multiply by 150. I put that into the calculator and I get 90 as my answer. It's using a ratio table, and if you're not good at coming up with factors that are common between two numbers, you can always put a 1 in the middle. We've done that before. Okay, so now here's your OYOs. This is all I have for you. You're going to try these 3 problems, pause the video, and then you're going to tell me which method you like best. Okay, so I'm going to show you. I love the decimal method, so that's what I'm going to use. Of always means times. I'm just putting my little X there to remind myself that I'm multiplying. To take my percent and turn it into a decimal, 90 over 100 is 90 divided by 100. I move the decimal over 1 place. So I have 0.90 times 20. When you multiply those 2 numbers together, you get 18. 75%, move the decimal 2 places. 0.75 times 32. My answer is 24. And then 10% of 110, I move the decimal 2 places. I get 0.1. Now I'm going to tell you on 90, I kept the 0, but you really don't need zeros that are after the decimal. If there's no other numbers, you can kind of forget about it. And that's why on this one, I'm not going to write the 10, because if I type in to the calculator, all I really need is the 0.1. Okay, and then when I do that math, I get 11. So there's my 3 answers for my OYO. And then I want you on the very last part of the notes. I'm showing you this, that commutative property can make multiplication easier. Thinking about it like this, if I had to do 90 over 100 times 20, I could actually move the 20 and the 90 and make a different kind of multiplication problem. Notice the 20 stays on top and so does the 90. When I multiply across, I just have it in a different order. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to simplify 20 over 100 as 1/5. So if I simplify and I divide by 20, I get 1. And if I divide by 100, 100 divided by 20 is 5. Now when I multiply across, it's easier. Just want to show you that that's an option that means the same thing. So now you choose what method you like best. Do you like the tape diagram, which is kind of like the double number line? Do you like a ratio table? Do you like multiplying fractions? Or do you like multiplying decimals? I want you to pick one and explain why you like it. And then I do have an exit ticket, so you could try that. Good luck.